When I was a young kid in 3rd grade, I remember my dad coming up the stairs of my grandpa's house where we were living, sitting at the end of my bed and saying, "Joey."
You ever seen a grown man naked?
"Joey."
Joey, you ever hang around the gymnasium?
I remember coming up my grandpa Finnegan's stairs because that's where we were living. He had a job, but it wasn't enough. I remember sitting at the edge of the bed and saying, "Joey."
Joey, have you ever been in a Turkish prison?
I quoted her one of her favorite expressions. She used to say to all her children, she said, "Joey."
You like movies about gladiators?
He lovingly would look at me and tell me, "Joey, it's because you're so bright you can't get the thoughts out quickly enough."
Kamala Harris has this device she uses, Congressman. She kind of laughs when she's uncomfortable. She's done it several times. She laughed the other day when she was asked about visiting the border.
Do you have plans to visit the border?
Not today.
When the Trump administration overlooks the fact that what is happening with the detention of these children, the circumstances by which they arrive, is a human rights abuse being committed by the United States government. And so we are here to stand up and say that we are not going to allow this to happen, not on our watch. I will tell you, when elected, the first thing I'm going to do, one of the first things, is to shut down these private detention facilities.
Let's get these kids out of CBP custody, get them into HHS custody.
As President of the United States, and in fact, one of the reasons I am running for president, is to pass comprehensive immigration reform with a pathway towards citizenship. I mean, it's heartbreaking, Ari. It's heartbreaking. They're innocent and they're being traumatized. Anyone who has parented a child or been a child, my God. The idea that we would be removing these babies from their parents, and it's not necessary. Ari, that's the thing that is so outrageous and maybe even compelling about this. It's not necessary.
You see that? That's a stupid bitch.
The law does not require it, and certainly ethics and morals don't require it. We need a president of these United States who understands that we are a nation of immigrants, and instead of vilifying folks, while we are clear that people should not come to the border now, because he's trying to scapegoat folks to distract from the fact that he ain't done nothing. We also understand that we will enforce the law. And then what happens when they arrive at our borders? We also understand that we will enforce the law. We, who have erected the Statue of Liberty. We will enforce the law. They arrive at our borders and we say, go back to where you came from. We will enforce the law.
Have you been directed to separate parents from children as a method of deterrence of undocumented immigration?
I have not been directed to do that for purposes of deterrence, no.
What purpose have you been given?
Enforce the law?
For separating parents from their children?
So my decision has been that anyone who breaks the law will be prosecuted. If you're a parent or you're a single person or you happen to have a family, if you cross between the ports of entry, we will refer you for prosecution. You've broken U.S. law.
Your agency will be separating children from their parents. And
no,
I would
what we'll be doing is prosecuting parents who have broken the law, just as we do every day in the United States of America.
That is correct.
I can appreciate that. But if that parent has a 4-year-old child, what do you plan on doing with that child?
The child under law goes to HHS for care and custody.
Let's get these kids out of CBP custody, get them into HHS custody.
Enforce the law?
Again, we do not have a policy to separate children from their parents. Our policy is if you break the law, we will prosecute you. You have an option to go to a port of entry and not illegally cross into our country.
What do you think Secretary Nielsen should do at this point?
I think she should resign. I think she should resign. I think she is not equipped based on her conduct. I don't think she is equipped to do the job the way that it needs to be done.
Are you insane? Do this stupid, silly, you know what? play this stupid juvenile mean game.
Harris may be the single most transactional human being in America. There are timeshare salesmen you would trust more than Kamala Harris. You could find payday lenders who are more sincere.
Yesterday, President Joe Biden said that he's putting his vice president in charge of the situation at the southern border.
Hey, boy, pull my finger.
Do you think she's the right person to handle this task?
I mean, no. I mean, that's...
And on day one, I'm going to shut down those private detention facilities.
As they scramble to get control of the biggest immigration surge we've had there in over 20 years, Harris has now been put in charge.
Now Vice President Kamala Harris is stepping into a new role, taking the lead on the immigration crisis for the White House.
With pressure growing on the Biden administration, the president tapping Vice President Kamala Harris to take the lead.
Tonight, Vice President Kamala Harris has an important new job, leading the administration's effort to stem the surge of migrants crossing the southern border.
And I can think of nobody who's better qualified to do this than.
Well, when President Biden says she's most qualified, I mean, seriously, what color's the sky in his world? Because you couldn't get a worse pick. Look, she supports sanctuary cities. She wrote legislation to reward those who illegally enter the United States. She vilified the men and women of the Border Patrol during last surge, saying they're mistreating immigrants. She's an open borders advocate. She wants to abolish ICE. She compared immigration officers to the KKK during a Senate hearing. And you want to put her in charge of immigration enforcement on the border? I couldn't think of a worse choice.
The White House press secretary says the VP is not taking the lead on the administration's response to the crisis at the border. Instead, her focus is strictly on diplomacy with Mexico and the 3 Northern Triangle countries to address root causes of migration and to oversee the flow of U.S. aid to those countries.
You think she is afraid of taking this job, Joy? You think she's afraid of this job?
Absolutely. I don't think so. I don't think Kamala Harris is afraid of anything, frankly, from what I could gather. But, this is a huge problem. There's even the zero tolerance and the inhumane behavior of the Trump administration did not stop people from coming in.
These are the Biden cages. For 4 years, we heard Democrats in the media screaming about kids in cages under Donald Trump. What they didn't admit is Barack Obama built the cages. And Joe Biden is building new cages, and they're bigger and they're more full. Kids were packed in there. Mind you, the Trump administration allowed media in. The Obama administration did. The George W. Bush administration did. The Bill Clinton administration did. But not Biden. They desperately wanted to cover it up.
Cool. Sonny, how big a deal is this assignment for Kamala Harris? I mean, I think she is the perfect person to do this. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think she's uniquely qualified. And we saw it when President Trump decided to hand over the coronavirus task force to Vice President Pence and Jared Kushner. That didn't go over very well. They were not qualified to handle that. That was bullshit. Our Vice President, Kamala Harris, is uniquely qualified. Because she's a lawyer, she's handled civil rights cases. She understands the law of asylum. And finally, she is the daughter of immigrants herself. And so I think what better person to handle this very nuanced and very unique problem.
You started another program that's getting a lot of attention nationwide. You started it out there, but it's being copied nationwide, called Back on Track.
Right.
And one of the things your critics have dug up is that there were some illegal immigrants involved in that program who got their felony convictions dropped because of it. How did that happen?
So I created Back on Track. Did I figure out every scenario? No. So early on, we realized we hadn't safeguarded for illegal immigrants being in the program. When we learned that happened, we fixed it. There you go.
She also understands the unique experience of being an immigrant.
Well, it was road rage that led to a triple murder, and police say the suspect should have been deported years ago. Anthony Bologna and his 2 sons were gunned down on their way home from a family picnic. Minding their own business, not doing anything wrong, they were shot dead in their car on the streets of San Francisco. This guy, Edwin Ramos, accused in this crime, was convicted as a juvenile of gang assault, of attempted robbery of a pregnant woman. The feds were not alerted after those 2 arrests because of the sanctuary city policy. And then just this past March, he was arrested again on gun charges. The feds were told in that instance, Danielle, but they decided for some reason not to put him on an immigration hold, not to detain him until he could be deported. The system seems to have failed your family at every turn.
You know, you're absolutely correct, and I totally feel that. And to know that I have to go on in life without my husband and my 2 beautiful sons is just unbearable. It's totally not fair.
Yeah, it's not
and I want this country to understand that.
And I'm sort of flummoxed at, you know, this constant gaslighting by the Republicans that this is a new crisis.
I left my daughter when she was 14 months old in the back of our car. And I was with my husband, and it was a hot July day. And literally, Anderson, my husband left her in the car. I left her in the car. We went to get a shopping cart. We took the shopping cart past the car, went into Home Depot. I went into the garden center, and it was only after about 5 minutes that my husband came to me and said, "Oh my God, we left Paloma in the car." I tell you, I'm still ashamed about it. I'm embarrassed. I'm horrified.
This is, in fact, a humanitarian crisis caused by the Trump administration's policies at the border. This, you know, stay in Mexico policy.
This is the Biden crisis. He is responsible. And the important thing to understand is it was political decisions Joe Biden made that caused this crisis, 3 in particular. The week he got sworn in, he halted construction of the border wall, he reinstated the failed catch and release policy, and he ended the Remain in Mexico international agreement, which had stopped this.
And so I think Republicans want you to think that this is all new. And Republicans also weren't really so concerned about the crisis at the border.
Last year, we had the lowest illegal immigration in 45 years. Right now, today, we have the highest illegal immigration in 20 years. It was preventable, and it's Joe Biden's fault.
Last year, when actor Jussie Smallett staged his fake hate crime, Harris was one of the first national leaders to jump in with an expression of support. Smallett was, quote, the kindest, most gentle human being Harris had ever met, she wrote. The attack on him was, quote, an attempted modern-day lynching. Is that in the face of changing evidence, she never recanted her support. That tweet is still up. She did not delete it. Smollett's story was entirely concocted. Harris knows that. We all know it, but she doesn't care. In fact, Harris understands perfectly well why Smallett lied. By smearing Trump supporters as bigots, he hoped to advance his career. And Kamala Harris, of all people, can respect that.